Hey, Shane.
Hey, Jamie.
There's a curious passage in this week's Torah portion that tells us that when Moshe, left Pharaoh's palace for the final time, he did so in a burning rage. The great biblical commentator Rashi tells us that the reason Moshe was so angry was that Pharaoh had told him that he could never come back on threat of death. But does that make any sense? Why would Moshe have been angry? Was the coffee that good in the palace? Were the swag bags that they gave to visitors to Pharaoh's palace so filled with incredible goodies? Shouldn't it have been the opposite? Shouldn't Moshe have said to Pharaoh, guess what? I don't really like looking at your ugly mug, so I'm not going to be upset if I don't get to see it again. Sayonara. The classic answer to this question is that Moshe wasn't upset on a personal level. He was angry at the affront to God. What an outrage. Pharaoh throwing God's ambassador, God's emissary out of the palace. But if that's the only answer, then why now? Moshe had come and gone a number of times previously from Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh had said some pretty outrageous things. He had said to Moshe, who is this God of yours? I don't know who he is. Pharaoh had previously seemed to capitulate to God's demand. All right, I'll send the Jews out. And then he changed his mind a number of times. Why wasn't Moshe angry then? And further, one of the rabbis in the Talmud tells us that the last thing Moshe did before leaving the palace that final time was that he slapped Pharaoh across the face. But how could he have done that? We know that previously God instructed Moshe not to hit the Nile River in order to start the first and second plague, and not to hit the ground in order to start the third plague. Aharon, Aaron, Moshe's brother, had to do that instead. Why? Because Moshe owed a personal debt of gratitude to the Nile River for having saved him when he was a baby in a basket in the river, and to the ground for giving him a temporary reprieve when he buried the body of the Egyptian taskmaster whom he had killed. So if Moshe owed a debt of gratitude to inanimate objects like the water and the ground, then didn't he certainly owe a debt of gratitude to Pharaoh, his adopted grandfather, who raised him in his palace? So how could he slap him? I was thinking that maybe you could suggest the following answer. Maybe Moshe was trying to slap some sense into Pharaoh's head, like slapping a hysterical person to calm them down. Maybe Moshe was actually slapping Pharaoh in order to repay that debt of gratitude. He was telling Pharaoh, this is not a game. Before I went and I came back, and I went and I came back, and you changed your mind, and then you made up your mind, and you changed your mind again. But this is endgame. This is checkmate. There's no coming back. It's your last chance. If you give in, we don't have to have that 10th plague. You could save yourself. You could save your firstborn son. You could save all those firstborn sons that are going to die. So maybe he slapped Pharaoh to impress upon him the severity, the finality of the situation. And maybe he feigned anger when he left in that burning rage. Maybe that was just for Pharaoh's consumption, showing him this incredible anger so that he'd realize this isn't like the other times. You're right, I'm not coming back, but not for the reason you think. It's because there won't be anything to which to come back. So if Moshe felt that he needed to repay a debt of gratitude to that monster, Pharaoh, because of Pharaoh's prior largesse to him, then how much more so do we have to be careful to repay all sorts of debts of gratitude, from the simple ones, thanking the person who holds the door open for you, or the elevator, or who lets you cut into their traffic lane, to the more significant ones, thanking your friends, your siblings, your other relatives for helping you out, being there for you, doing you favors, and for the ultimate debts of gratitude to your parents for having raised you. It's not easy to repay or even acknowledge debts of gratitude. It's not always easy to say thank you. We don't like feeling beholden to anyone, but it's incredibly important.